this is very intimate. My bed is like in frame. I don't know how I feel.
I mean, this is my bed, but it's got a black sheet.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, we've got very like glorificus, and then Caleb is at the initiative in a cell, and then
and Dawn is in her bedroom.
I was gonna say like first, you're gonna kill me. I was like Xander's basement.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah. And then whatever the fuck.
And then you're the adult.
And then you're Joyce.
I know. Yeah, I'm Joyce, or this is Giles's.
It has a Giles.
You never see. Yeah, it's the old Giles room.
Yeah.
Are we on? Are people watching us? Hi.
We are live.
We are.
Hey.
Hi, everybody.
Oh yeah, 2 people are watching. Yes. Hi.
Oh,
Hi.
Hey.
Wait, it says chat is disabled for this live stream on my screen. Is there somewhere I can see what people are saying?
On the YouTube page that I'm going to tweet right now.
All right.
It's the future.
Yeah, sometimes the chat will pop up in live stream with like programming, but sometimes it just doesn't work. I don't know why. But it is supposed to be there, but it's just not.
Well, hi, people. Hi.
Hi, everybody. Viewers at home.
I'm tweeting like, I'll be right with you all. Tagging you all in these.
Oh, good. Oh, shit. What did I just do?
What are we talking about? What are we doing? What's the happening?
So, what we're talking about today is we're talking about friendship. Friendship is the theme. This is a theme episode. So yeah, this is so I mean, obviously we're all very familiar with the series finales. Or is that the series finale? One of the final episodes, the cookie dough metaphor, where Buffy is talking about she is talking to Angel about how she has just like not made it work. She's still baking, but very Sex in the City is. I can hear myself reverbing. So if I pause,
someone is listening to the sound of the YouTube video.
Sorry, that was me, and I stopped.
I apologize. Oh my god, we're learning. So I was like, as much as I super love hearing my sibilant voice. It's spooky. So in Sex and the City also they had a similar theme of like, well, you know, men can just be these like fun guys we like do stuff with, but the real soulmates are friends. And I think that's absolutely applicable to Buffy because that's all the heart of the show is encapsulated. You know, like there's a few moments where it's like, yeah, it's an Angel sad moment. Yeah, it's a Spike kind of romance moment. There's some Riley stuff too, but like really the core crux of the show is her friendships.
Well, if you think about it, there were no end game couples. I mean, it was never like there was romance, but there were never any. I mean, none of the couples, with the exception of Willow and Kennedy, I think. But this is a Tara household; we don't recognize Kennedy. So I think they were the only ones who ended the series run as a couple, still as a couple.
I would say they're only ending just like literal in a literal sense, but not in like a. You know,
I would say like
there at the end,
like
final
a musical
couple
chairs kind of moment.
Yeah. Final couple is actually Faith and Principal Wood.
yeah.
It's interesting to me that you've drawn this line from Buffy to Sex and the City because it's a thing that I think about a lot with regards to Friends, like the literal show Friends, where that show is so much about, well, the life we were supposed to have where we got married and moved to the suburbs, the life that ironically Monica and Chandler end up having by the end is like the moment of like arrested development that the show is obsessed with, right? Like that we didn't end up having the lives we were supposed to. So our relationships to each other instead of to a primary partner become what the show is about. So is Buffy doing the same thing, I wonder? And is that the same thing that Sex and the City is doing, that like we have to learn to articulate a new kind of relationality that isn't the like normal heterosexist model? Is that what?
I think so. I think you can have. I mean, obviously, by the time you get to the movies of Sex and the City, they've just thrown that out the door. Right. But like for the theme throughout 99% of that show was that. And so I think that's one of those things where you can argue that maybe the finale of Sex and the City is not appropriate. Maybe not as much as it's very satisfying. But
I don't even remember the finale. What's the finale?
They just literally all pair up. I mean, like some of them are already paired because Miranda is with Steve and they move to Brooklyn and they have their Brooklyn family moment.
But doesn't she see Big and he only passes her in her car? Isn't that the finale?
No, like she goes to Paris with Alexander Petrovsky and there's like a fight, and she gets like slapped, and then like Big went there to go get her. It's all very it's when like the show is transitioning from like Gen X crustiness into like big sweepy movie romance. Like it literally does like a Mulholland Drive in reverse, where like they just go into this dream world where everything's great and fine. And that's how you get into the movies.
But is there a scene when he drives by her car and she doesn't see him? Isn't that a scene in that?
At the like the finale is like multi-part, and she does have a moment where he tries to go to her and she's just like had enough, and she's like left her apartment, and then there is sort of like an ending there.
And
then she basically tells him to buzz off, and then by the end of it he goes to Paris. The friends are all like tired of her being in Paris and they tell Big where to find her.
What is the like final image of Sex in the City?
It's them all like what, like, because like she comes back, you know, like Big brings Carrie back and they all surprise her, and like then they all just like are all walking down the sidewalk together, arm in arm.
Yeah.
And then they get hit by the bus.
For Caleb, the series ends when Kristen Johnston falls out the window.
Oh my god! Is there anything more iconic?
Moment.
No,
it's
exactly.
Really amazing.
The true final shot.
Welcome to our Sex in the City live stream.
I know exactly. The only character I have ever fully related to on a TV show.
You have sent me that GIF more than any other GIF. Like, like you're like woke up again this morning.
Anyway,
then what do we think the show? What do we think Buffy is saying about friendships? Then,
so for me, I think this is why so many queer folk. I mean, one of the reasons why so many queer folk love Buffy, because while you cared about the relationships and that was like part of the drama of the show, for me, I never felt like that was the point of the show. Like I felt like I liked. I think almost everyone in here doesn't love season 7, but the really good season 7 moment early on when Willow, I don't remember the context, it's like after she has come back, the end of that episode where they can't see her, then they find her, and she's doing something like meditating, and Buffy just is like, oh, can I help? And Buffy sits on the bed with her, and they hold hands, and it's like a very sweet friend moment. Like for me, those are the moments that always land for the show, is when the friends are doing something sweet together.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of, I mean, that theme, it's writ large, and especially in season 4, when it's sort of like, that's the subtext of season 4, is how they all kind of scatter. In the first episode, it's all about them scattering to the winds and then coming back together. And then you've got the Yoko Factor, and then you've got Primeval, where they really dwell on those themes of friendship and of how this core group kind of functions together. And I think you see it in like episodes like The Gift, where each one of them brings something separate to the plate that serves to, in the end, they all defeat Glory. You know, it's Buffy's fight, but they really all contribute to it. And they really did make a point of balancing out this group of friends, and sort of, it really showed them, like I said, it was like there were no endgame couples, but the friendship was always there. Like that was endgame. They always kind of came back together.
Well, a lot of the flashbacks dwell on this, where there's like the first Slayer. Every time they talk about the first Slayer, every time they go into like the Slayer's past, where like how does Buffy had like a longer like lifespan than all the other Slayers before her? It's because she's the one who's had all these friends. Previously, the Slayer was a lonely life. It was fated to be this way. You're not, you're supposed to be solo on a mission. It's you and your watcher, and then you die at some point. It's just how the life was. And then this was one where Buffy is really bucking that trend, and she has a network of support. Never had like a relationship, and I think that is where, as Anthony was saying, is breaking up that really heterosexist model of like, it's not like she needs some other one-to-one support system, like family unit, as people think. Like that still seems, whatever like her life is going to be, that's going to be out of her grasp. It's going to be whatever her future is going to be. It's going to have to be something new of her own making, and it's probably something she's already got going on, which is a support network of friends, which is most, people more than who have a one-to-one relationship.
Then what do we make of the fact that she tends to drift apart from her friends, like for longer and longer periods as the show runs? Like, at first it's like a 1-episode lesson, and then by season 7, it's like we have to spend the whole season relearning this, like, oh, other humans have value other than being disposable cannon fodder.
I see. I think so. I think that the reason those things happen is she's at odds with herself, where like her loner bullshit is always there, but also she does love her friends, and I think those two things conflict. That's the only reason why I buy it in season 7, because she is always, I'm the Slayer, I've got to do this. Even though the whole like theme of the show is, no, it's not just you, it's everyone, and you gotta be with your friends, blah blah blah. But I feel like I buy it because of that, where like her feeling like, and she is the only strong one, and we're the only one that can like physically fight. I mean, right? Like Willow has powers, but no one can physically fight the way she can. And I think to her, it's like she's the head of this army, but then also she doesn't.
Yeah, but she also has a sense of duty because her friends aren't called to this, but she is, and she comes back to that several times throughout, where she feels guilty because she has kind of grandfathered these innocent people into this huge battle against these horrible arcane forces, and she keeps trying to protect them, and they keep saying they don't want to be protected, but then they need to be protected. So it's like, and then in season 6 she's got her whole thing where she like literally comes back from the dead, and she has all this like resentment, and they work through those issues, etc., etc. But yeah, so sorry, go ahead.
I think to what you were saying there is that like, I think up until the gift, it's very how you had friends up through college, where everyone's like seeing each other once a day. Season 6 and 7 Buffy are friendships that are like now, which is like, oh man, I got to schedule that monthly visit with my best friend.
Right.
Like, where it's like, it's hard to keep everybody together. And like, I have to do so much shit alone, and I hate this. And I see my coworkers more than I see my closest loved ones, and I super resent that, but I'm a grown up. And I think season 6 and 7 are so much about being a grown up, and about like, because I mean, also like everybody acknowledges that season 6 and 7 doesn't feel like she's 21 or 22, whatever age she's supposed to be.
Right.
It feels like they just, maturity level, because she dies in the gift, comes back, and then there's that whole feeling separate, and then you add to that everybody else has more and more things they're burdened with. Xander is more and more burdened with, he doesn't have anything to do. Willow is more and more burdened with her own burgeoning powers that she can't control, and her relationship that she's losing control of. Giles is also feeling like separate. So it's everybody. It's just like, as life goes on, maintaining those friendships, it's not easy. Like, but it's the same amount of work as like a relationship.
Ian, are you pro season 7? I'm trying to remember here.
I like it. It's not my favorite, but I like all of the seasons. I think I still would. I go back and forth whether I would rate it above. I think I rate it above season 4. Yeah.
I'm just trying to when I read season 7, when I watch season 7, it's like I have trouble understanding what it is Buffy gets from her friends. Like, I don't feel like there's a moment in season 7 where it's like, oh, and this is how much she's fond of them, right? Like, there does seem to be, like, again, to compare it to Sex and the City or Friends, where it's like their interpersonal dynamics read to me, whereas Buffy seems to, I take Caleb's point that it's like she survives longer because of these people, but it feels like something she has to learn. It feels like something she's not instinctively good at, the way that like a Miranda might be.
Yeah. It's so like this is something, like, just assuming, like, if we ever did a Buffy not a reboot, but like a revival where everybody came back,
right,
and just assuming the comics aren't canon. I know they are, I'm not saying they're not, but like, just assume like they don't follow that. I would be really interested to see Buffy now have like, because like my friend circle now is completely different than it was when I was in my early 20s. So I would almost want to see like a Buffy who has for the last 10 years had her own brand new Scooby Gang, and Willow and Xander be out of the picture for forever, and then they do come back into each other's lives at some point and see what that looks like.
Yeah, I think your instinct about drift is true. That like, I don't know how much longer these people were in each other's lives. Actually, is something I'm not sure about.
Yeah, I think about that too because, I mean, I had my friends from high school up until like a few years ago, and like, I mean, now I still have like 2 or 3 that I'm like fairly close with. But I actually would be like, anytime Sarah Michelle Gellar has said she's too old, I'm like, no, that would be more interesting that you're older. Like, that is interesting.
Like how she's adapted to all this shit, like
right? Because we all grew up with Buffy, so for me it would be very interesting to see Buffy at 40, to see, maybe they aren't friends with Xander, maybe she isn't friends with Willow, but like you said, Adam, okay, they have to come together for X, Y, and Z vampire that has come back to do whatever evil. Sure, then like she needs to call on everybody. I mean, like I feel like Giles, it would be like, yeah, of course she stays in touch with Giles because he's like her dad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And like for me, like okay, she keeps in touch with Willow, but they just don't see each other that often. That would be like realistic to me. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. I just imagine like a shocker opening scene would be like her meeting up with like Faith, and they've been best friends for 20 years, and Faith is like, yeah, I feel like I should invite you to Willow's wedding. She invited me. She didn't invite you. Like, and have everyone just be gagged. And like, oh my god, what happened?
I mean, that saves a lot of at a storytelling level. That saves a lot of work too, right? Like, the audience will resent you if they've been friends all these years and we haven't seen it. Whereas if we have to re-meet them all, and feel that awkwardness of catching up, that's better storytelling too.
Exactly.
I would love that.
Like they're teen
Xander
friends.
Thrived.
Yeah, let's do that. And then I want to see a big bad. I want to see Drusilla fully cogent, like a completely coherent evil Drusilla.
She's found the right medication balance for herself.
I know.
We can split it. She's like working for Wolfram and Hart now. Is Wolfram and Hart still around? Yes, they have to be. Yeah. That's how it works.
Yeah.
Oh my god, the J. August Richards news this week.
Oh yeah.
Wait,
congratulations.
Well, J. August Richards came out. Yeah.
Oh, Caleb said.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing? Made me so happy.
Amazing.
What's funny is, this is like so weird, but actually I used to follow every single former Buffy Angel cast member on Instagram, and there was something he posted that I remember thinking, is this a wink? Like, I can't remember what it was, but there was something that I was like, I feel like this is like him joking that he's gay, but that can't be what this is. Like, I remember thinking that.
Oh.
And that, like,
he's definitely, even today he posted a picture of him as a much younger man in like a rainbow shirt. Like it's not a current picture, so he's been clearly like living like 2 different kinds of public lives. So there's like, if you knew him, maybe you knew, and then good for him though.
I know, that's so great.
I feel like that is how queer celebrities maybe kind of do it now. Because that is a little bit of the thing where like they'll be like the whole like, these websites will be like, oh my god, next will be like, oh my god, so-and-so came out, and then like they'll just tweet a response later and they'll just be like, I don't know, I've been out for 20 years. It's weird that you would say such a thing. That's how they do that now.
Yeah,
and it's not my favorite, but but everybody does them.
Yeah. So. I tweeted once that there's 3 coming outs now. There's like the personal coming out, then there's like coming out so that gays know, and then there's like the Midwestern mom coming out, and there's like those all happen in different orders, and like we all know some celebrities who aren't out yet, but we all know, right?
Right. Exactly.
Not to name any names.
I was
in case they're in the chat.
Well,
right now.
I was gonna say it's also like you'll see that you see the like TMZ celebrity though, they'll be like, oh, so and so, suddenly left his roommate of 6 years. And I'm like, are we still doing headlines like this?
Yeah.
And then the Twitter patrol will be like, excuse you, he does not owe you
You're right.
anything.
Twitter will find like someone's locked Instagram account where they're just
oh my god, like the video from yesterday. My god.
Which is way better than like the Perez Hilton model, I guess, where he was just like hounding people for 10 years.
Right,
yeah.
Oh,
sorry, I didn't mean to derail.
There are levels.
Hey, Latoya. I did not mean to derail the conversation.
I told you, in this you're allowed to derail as much as you want.
Sorry.
It's good at derails.
I think we were onto something though. We had halfway to a pitch for the Buffy reunion.
We were gonna we probably come up. Gotta have some Buffy people in this chat. Like, let's. We're giving you the whole outline.
Is Adam a green block to anyone else?
No. I see an Adam.
That's so weird because on the YouTube it's not either. But on my end, Adam's a green block. It keeps going back and forth. But all of you keep still reacting. So I'm like, I guess it's just me.
Well, you go green. You
go
green sometimes. You know
Ian
what I look like.
Oh, do I?
You go green, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's not in the
we were being polite
about
it. But...
Which is
Am
weird.
I the only one?
My internet sucks.
Computer? I'm like, everybody looks normal to me.
Yeah, I mean,
isn't everybody a green block? I thought that was just the.
You have to take those sunglasses off that are green.
In the chat,
Wow. Am I?
The chat has had enough.
I feel like I'm in darkness. I really should have moved that.
Enough of your bullshit, Ian.
You definitely have a vampire bed.
I feel like you have
mine. Oh, really?
Yeah, you have like a.
Like
a very True Bud, like light tight.
My
area.
The paint job in here is a little insane. It's like very home at the end of the world situation. Yeah.
I feel like the color scheme is like burgundy, Merlot, blood, like
I had the couch custom made. Actually, it's like I always describe it to guests as Grimace. It has yeah.
Is that like a
sangria?
I'm just realizing that's not a headboard. The peacock.
No, that's actually a fire screen that I bought as an antique. It's kind of broken actually, but the wings retract or the feathers.
Yeah. Wow.
Ooh.
But it's very old. It has a tendency to break. So it's useful for screening out all of the parts of the room I don't want people to see. So.
I felt like a dumb kid. Wizard World asked me, Wizard World invited me to do, I don't know if you saw, they had, a Buffy panel, a live,
You got to live your, fantasy.
Yeah, and they invited me to be there for, the pre-show. And when I signed in, I was very flattered that James Marsters and Claire Kramer recognized me immediately. But James Marsters was like, "That's a really nice painting of Sarah on your wall." Was the first thing he said to me because he noticed that, and I was so embarrassed. I was like, "I should have taken it down."
What's underneath it? What's just below it?
I'm so bad at the
other way.
That's Jessica Jones. That's Jessica Jones.
And next to that
is the cover of A-Force.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then that is the Young Avengers, one of the Young Avengers covers. One of the variant covers from the last one.
Ian, if I had been in your shoes...
This is my wall.
Now, Caleb, what is that decor behind you? What is that?
What color would you say that is?
I know, right? This is some kind of a gray taupey... I call this early. Yeah. We moved in and didn't have time to fully unpack because we were both on deadline. And by the time we were off deadline, it was too late. And we were just kind of used to the blank wall. So we just never got around to putting anything on it.
Just blink twice if you're...
I know, right? Like I said, holding up a copy of today's newspaper, I'm like, please listen to their demands. They're not going to let me leave.
But I wish I had a blank wall like that right now because then you can do things to it in Zoom, whereas I have nowhere flat to change my background.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you just need stuff.
I can't do shit with the background, I tried doing it on one of the calls, and it just it's in like random spots and then maybe on my face.
Yeah,
you wore like a green shirt and it's just like on you.
Yeah, we Zoomed with some friends who did a green screen, and when she kept like disappearing, she would like lean back and like vanish, and, like just like her hair would be there, and then she'd like lean forward and her face pop back up, and it's like,
Thank you. Someone just told me my gallery wall is great. Thank you. And also, that's my favorite painting of Jubilee by, I forget, the artist that does all those Mondo paintings where everyone's, it's like a side portrait.
Yeah.
Love
it.
Oh yeah, I know the one.
Yeah, it was. I remember when they dropped. It was like he did like all the '90s X-Men, and I was at work that day, and I was like, "Oh no, but I only want Jubilee. What if they all sell out?" And I got home from work, and every one of them but Jubilee had sold out. And I was like,
"No,
well, I'm
good." Jubilee, like they are like committed to chopping her out of the movie.
Right?
They were like, "We've done 12 movies. We've done 1,700 movies."
Yeah. And there's 4 frames of Jubilee. Yeah.
Yeah, she's there.
Let's cast her and then not use her.
Anthony, wait, you'll really appreciate this. So me and Adam, Anthony and I are going to host episodes on the '90s X-Men cartoon, which we should probably talk about soon. Adam and I have been hosting about the movies, and we did the X2 episode Sunday, and I watched X2 with the captions. I rented it from Amazon, and in the captions, so Jubilee has like 2 lines at the end when Storm like sees them in their like sewer drain cell, and she calls out Jubilee's name, and in the captions it says Julia. I was like, God damn it!
Wrote the caption.
Wow.
Oh, gosh.
Poor thing. I wish I would have traded the whole Dark Phoenix movie just to have like a longer scene of that Dazzler party they're having in the woods.
Right.
Like if I had been the screenwriter, that would have been 45 minutes long.
Like, that party was like the best part, and yet it was like a second.
Yeah.
It's so funny to me. Like they did that whole mall scene for Apocalypse or whatever.
That mall scene.
And they messed it and chopped it and da-da-da. And then like someone on the first movie podcast was like, they can do it again with Marvel. And I was like, too late. Wonder Woman 84 is going to do it way better. Like too late. You're not going to be able to do it.
Yeah, you lost your montage. Like that's all people want. It's so weird that like these studios do not understand that it's those in-between scenes that are why people care about those characters at all. Like, you ask someone what their favorite scene is in an X-Men comic, they're never going to pick some battle scene that no one remembers. They're always going to pick some quiet moment.
Well, like they forget how many queers I feel like X-Men has like such a big queer following, but they like try to pander to like any straight fan.
Yeah, well, I feel like that's finally over.
Yeah, can you just imagine straight X-Men fans?
I don't get it.
Picture.
What do they relate to?
Yeah.
Super into. Like even like liking Wolverine is itself queer.
Yeah.
Like you can't even just be like, oh, I like this guy. I like him. It's just.
It's like I like the big hairy lumberjack. It's like, really?
Yeah, it's like I like this person who was like the definition of like short king. Like, woo. Got 2 of them here right now.
And Canadian.
Oh, that's
yes.
Canadian.
That's Canada out that window. Yeah. Actually, you can, if this building outside wasn't in the way, you could see where they shot all the Auschwitz scenes in X-Men #1.
Really?
It's all right there in the distillery district. Yeah. They just flooded it with mud. When I was a teenager, I took the GO train in, the like commuter train every day to go to high school because I went to an all-boys Catholic school in the city, which was a nightmare. But every morning while they were filming X-Men, I would see the like mud pit that they were filming that sequence in.
Wow.
Yeah. And now I walk through it on my government-approved daily walk during quarantine. Actually, I got this root beer there, now that I think about it.
Wow.
Anthony, you're living.
So versatile.
Yeah.
Can't believe it. Yeah, I always love, because like X-Men fans were prepared for that opening scene in the very first X-Men movie, but the uninitiated just to be like, all right, we got this X-Men movie, we've got 20 different keeps, all right, the superheroes, this laser blast, laser beams, all right, opening scene, what do we got? Auschwitz. Like, it's just like, I just remember the movie, people were not ready. Roger Ebert, I remember just being like, his review was just like, I was not ready.
Yeah. I remember that too.
Yeah, he was like, I was not. Like, I don't.
But it set the stakes and it set a tone. Whereas when they go there again for the apocalypse movie,
I was just about to say that.
Like I felt like ethically compromised in my seat during that movie, where I was like, no, I am somehow party to what this is doing right now. Yeah.
Oscar Isaac is going to have
I think all the time. I think it was a Vulture article that was a review of that.
Oh.
You know what it makes me think of?
Where like it said like what they all wore to Auschwitz, like what?
Oh, I didn't know. No.
Oh, sorry.
I think we're on a delay here. We're telling 3 stories at the same time.
I was just going to say it makes me think of Buffy and her core group of friends. Because that's the reason for the season. I was just
dare you get us back on track.
I was just gonna try to. I was gonna be the dad who tries to get us back on track.
Sure, do it. Yeah.
I can't really actually come up with an Auschwitz metaphor.
Have a thing. Oh my god.
Wait, Adam had something actual about Oscar Isaac, and I always want to hear about Oscar Isaac.
No, I just think he's gonna have a great Brando-esque sort of memoir at the end of his life. Like he's just gonna be like, I hated Star Wars, X-Men. Following, like
he already talked about how much he hated X-Men. He's already said that it was like they would just wheel him into this tent because he was always overheating, and then wheel him back out in the makeup whenever he had to shoot a scene. He didn't get to know anybody. He only did it because he wanted to meet like the other actors, and he never even got to talk to them because he was all. I feel like Star Wars, he's almost there. I feel like John Boyega too keeps like almost saying how much it sucked. But
they are dancing that fabulous line right now. Every time they speak, I'm just like,
just say it.
Do it. Say it's bad.
Yeah, did I catch up or am I still delayed?
I think
how would we know?
My LED, my clip-on LED ring light is dying, so I'm slowly fading out.
Fading into darkness.
I am. It's gonna get real. It's gonna get creepy in here. There's gonna be some mood lighting in my.
I feel like my lighting is really upsetting. I should maybe do something about it. Let me see if I can talk amongst yourselves.
My lighting is great.
All right, can you guys hear me?
Here we go.
I can
hear you.
Oh, okay. I felt like I knew I was having a delay, and I was like, ugh.
You're just on with 3 interrupting homos. Like we can hear you, but we
can hear you. We don't give a shit.
We can hear you. I'm just gonna keep talking.
I'm just.
So yes, Caleb, bring it back to Buffy.
Bring it back to Buffy. Let's talk about the Auschwitz episode of Buffy.
Wait, there's actually a prompt in the chat. Someone actually has a Buffy question.
Yes. Yes.
Josh says, "What friendships did we not get to see on Buffy that you would have liked to? I wanted more Buffy Oz or a Buffy Cordy episode post Charisma leaving Buffy." Oh, those are both really good.
I always want more Oz. I was such an Oz fan.
Oh,
I wanted to see Oz without Willow. I want to see how that went.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, and I always want more. I wanted more Cordy. I would have loved to have seen an episode where Cordy comes back to Sunnydale by herself, just a Cordy episode. Because I always felt like post season 2, I just never really, aside from Homecoming, I never felt like they utilized her properly. It just felt like she went from being an essential part of the group to just being another like foil. Like she would sort of show up to antagonize and to drop an insult or two, and then she'd flounce off. And I didn't like
breakup.
Sorry.
We had when she broke up with Xander.
Right.
That was like pretty much it. Like she cut off the friend group and then tried going back.
She was,
and then
pivotal.
She stalls out with the Wesley flirts that go.
Yes.
On, right. Yeah.
But she was pivotal to the Wish. But she was barely in it because they killed her immediately.
Right, she dies.
Yeah. And I was like, that felt like a ripoff because I liked Cordy. I thought she had the most interesting character development out of all of them.
Oh, my friend Charisma Carpenter, me and Anthony.
Your friend, your good friend. Yeah.
What about the Oz?
My friend Gwyneth.
I would love to have done. Some of the books kind of did this with like you could have done an episode that was just centered around Dingoes Ate My Baby. Like you could do like a little, because what's his name? Devin was really fascinating / just hot. I just
yes, real hot.
Yeah,
because he wore like almost a midriff. He was like the guy in the band that could show off a little bit, and like
there was like some sexual ambiguity happening there. Yeah,
that's right.
All that there was so much in the Dingoes and My Baby. They all at some point. If the camera lingered on them, we would have seen like you would have seen, but you would have seen like all like 4 cool guys being cool about it. Like they would have just been like, yeah, that happened that one time. That's all.
They were the guys that I would have hooked up with.
It's every Ian friend. It's some straight guy who was like, ooh, doodly doo, and then like 20 years go by and they're just cool.
It's like doodly doo. Leia Richards, you have a question. What's your question? As we get to Rael talking about how hot everyone
while Leia comes up, I remember when I was a kid, I wrote like a fanfic pilot episode about Dawn and her season 7 friends, who I found really fascinating.
Yeah,
remember she makes those new friends, and it's like strongly implied in lessons we're going to get to know these people really well, and we never saw them again. Like,
right?
She had this like clique of friends. She mentioned the new girlfriend a few times. What was the guy's name? Carlos.
Yeah,
and
that sounds right.
Yeah, and I forget her name, but like they're like the protagonists of that episode. Like Dawn is getting to know these new people, and we never saw them again. I always thought that was so strange.
You know, what I liked in season 7 was the development of Anya and Andrew, like their connection. I liked their vibe. I would have loved to have seen like just like a little a short just like give us like 6 to 8 episodes, 22 minutes long, of just the two of them getting into adventures.
Yeah,
I know. We met Andrew way too late. It's always the feeling I get when I rewatch the show. I mean,
he was in my fanfic episode.
Yeah,
and the question from the chat about where you can find it is nowhere. I remember I handed it in because it was part of an assignment, and it was a huge binder. It was like it was script formatted, and it was like 56 pages because it was the pilot episode. And I remember to this day that when I handed it in, the teacher said, "Damn, I knew I should have put a page limit."
Anthony, that is so on brand for you.
It was like, little did that teacher know they were in the parentheses, Anthony out there.
Leia's question is here. I have a question. In season 4 of Buffy, what character would you take out of the show?
Season 4?
I mean, well, I sort of feel like it's a tie for me between Riley and Adam. I find Adam a disappointing villain. I don't know that he should be removed, but I don't think he should have been as important as he became.
Right. Well, he's like the muscle, right? Like it was clearly supposed to be Professor Walsh.
Professor Walsh
just vanished.
And that would have been fine, right? If he was just the muscle, it would have been totally fine.
Just a Frankenstein that Buffy has to fight in an episode or two would have been fine. As for Riley, I sort of feel like at the exact same time that the show goes off the rails right after Doomed, I think. That's when this season really when you can tell that they had to go into disaster mode and rewrite the trajectory of the rest of the season. And I feel like that is also, it's like right around the Iron Team, like Doomed and the Iron Team is when Riley stops being useful to me and he starts just sort of being, they turned him into an obstacle for Buffy. And I didn't find it fascinating. I didn't really enjoy it.
The problem with season 4 is that, and this happened a lot in 24 is they kept having like fake outs, like, this is the villain. All right, well, no, this is the villain. Like they kept twisting and to keep twisting it. It was like, it was going to be Maggie Walsh. No, it's Adam. And then like the Adam isn't even like the finale is not even him. Like it's Dreams.
Yeah.
But I love that finale.
I love it so good. Yeah.
Dreams were the real big bad all along.
The chat advocates removing Forrest. I like Forrest. I mean, I don't like him as a person. I like what he does as like a way of like externalizing the misogyny of the season. Like he is like frat boy misogyny as a character, and I like that as like something Buffy can punch in the face.
He represents,
and I think he's good as like Riley's, like he's jealous and like he's there to be like Riley's partner.
to agitate Riley into action, because Riley is not going to agitate himself.
He's the devil on Riley's shoulder. Like because he represents both the initiative and everything that the initiative encapsulates, and then he also represents the misogyny and the everything else, like all this kind of like rigid regimented stuff that Buffy has been fighting against throughout. Like in Helpless, when she departs when she tells the Watchers to go, like that. He represents that same sort of like patriarchal organized, religion, whatever. But yeah. And so he's yet another example of this thing that she's been combating for a few seasons up to that point.
Yeah, like I actually, now that I think about it, I almost feel like if he had been in the Adam role, it would have been almost better. Like, because when he is sort of demonized in that final episode, his rapport with Buffy is more personal, right? Like he hates her. He hates who she is. She's not just the Slayer. And that misogyny comes out with much more bite because of it. And like he clearly has like sublimated desires for Riley too. Like as an antagonist in that love triangle, he's more compelling to me than Adam ever was.
I agree.
I keep taking, every time we say Adam sucks, I just keep taking it personally. Like there's like a half second where I'm always just like, all right, I wasn't a good
If I could remove one person from this chat.
Who was just disappointing. Just we're all let down.
Okay, wait, there's more chat stuff. So Simone says there's a distinct lack of adult friendships on screen and very little representation of male friendships. I think that's true. Yeah. That's sort of, everyone always talks about how the men on Buffy are very siloed. Like they don't interact, which is sort of like so much of TV, especially in the 90s, was so masculinized that was sort of refreshing. But it does, now that you watch it now, it's like, Xander doesn't seem to have much of an internal life, does he?
They started going towards that with Giles and Spike a little bit.
Yeah.
But like, obviously could have been more.
I mean, I agree. I sort of feel like by the end, by season 7, they are adults. And so, I mean, their friendships sort of are that. But I do think there were a few episodes where Xander does acknowledge that he doesn't really have any dude friends.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he has his relationship with Spike in season 4 when they are roommates. And that was interesting, but it was so like, that was really not a friendship.
Sorry.
And then in season 5, he gets that weird, like, obsession crush on Riley. And like, that whole thing was really, like, it made me uncomfortable in the sense that it brought out Xander's like men's rights activist, like that aspect of him, which I just despise. It was just like the absolute worst parts of Xander, and I try not to think about it too much. But it was sort of like I think there was an episode, maybe it was in season 4, but he talks about how Oz is like the only other like male friend.
When does he say that? Oz would have gotten it. He wouldn't have said anything, but he would have gotten it.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But we never really see them interact without anybody else present.
Yeah, that was actually going to be my answer to the question, because I actually liked, because for me, Oz was always like the cool guy, and he also was chill. Like, he didn't ever feel like, Xander was very like, like wacky teenage guy. Oz was very like confident, cool.
Right.
Oh, Ian froze on my
Oh
screen.
no.
Yeah. He's done. He made his point.
What Ian was trying to say is... No, I mean, honestly, I think this is like very Oz Hive Rise right now. I'm such a fan of this, where this has gone. Because I think definitely Oz had... everybody else was such a excitable person. That eventually, like, I think like maybe Buffy became the more like cool cat in the cast, like about like taking things in stride, but hers was more nihilistic than like Oz's like, all right, so we're in a haunted house now and the house is trying to kill us. Like a little more that energy, which...
Okay, now Adam is freezing.
Yes.
No.
We're the only survivors.
It's coming for all of us. I can hear Adam.
taking us all one by one.
Oh, yeah, I can hear Adam, but he's turned into confetti.
Yeah.
Oh no.
As my LED slowly fades out,
this is turning into some kind of like a Beckett play or something. Now I'll just be in a jar or something. Yeah.
But yeah, well, but although I always forget that the show, it begins with Xander having another male friend, Jesse.
That's right. You want to critique their friendships. Like, Jesse never comes up again. I've always thought it was a shame.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Adam. Sorry, we can still hear you.
Pixel Adam, yeah.
In there.
I was just gonna say I was about Jesse way back when.
Oh yeah.
But yeah,
I mean, it helps that he's what's his name?
Eric Balfour.
Who was like the guy. Yeah.
He was in a band. A friend of mine had a crush on him, and so we went to see his band perform at the Viper Room several times.
Oh yeah, I would watch him do anything. What is he up to?
I actually don't know.
He was in 6 Feet Under for like a while, right? He was
Claire's boyfriend,
right?
Yeah.
So I think Ian, if you could hear me, I think you should just refresh your browser, and I'm gonna do the same.
Josh is talking about how if they thought about doing a draft of Conversations with Dead People, where instead of when Amber Benson said she wouldn't do it, they thought about doing it with Jesse instead. And in that case, Willow would have not been in the episode, whereas instead Xander's not in the episode.
Right.
So, you two switched. It's like a Brady Bunch situation.
I know. Yeah.
Awesome. Can you see me? Am I visual now?
You're human again. Ian is still
Great.
frozen. Yeah.
Okay, Ian, we can't even see you anymore. You gotta refresh your browser, honey.
Yeah, I think if Ian refreshes his browser, because I can still see him frozen on my screen.
Yeah, me too.
I can't. He's a black box for me.
Oh. I do think that Jesse would have been a great. I mean, like, I guess I sort of feel like by that point he'd been off for so long, it would have been
the audience wouldn't have remembered him,
right? But I do think it would have been interesting to have him come up more often, just sort of like just a reference, because he was functionally Xander's only real like male friend, and it was a good dynamic. I thought they had an interesting. That out well on that.
He also established stakes, right? Like his death stakes. His death said something like he would have been a cool season 7 return, actually.
Yes, and but this is something that I always talk about. Actually, I had an interview this past week with Publishers Weekly, and I talked at length about Buffy because it was so informative, like such an influence on my storytelling, and some of it had to do with those stakes and the fact that they were willing to do bad things to good people.
Yeah.
The episode that I always used to, because back when it was on, all of my friends would be like, "Ooh, I'm not watching a show called Buffy the Vampire Slayer," and I would make them watch Passion with me because it is such a great. I mean, it's a great episode, but it's a great episode because of the stakes. Like, they really establish it's like you've got Jenny Calendar with her redemption arc, and you've got Angel, and it's his, like, the opposite of his redemption arc. Like, this is when he goes beyond redemption, and this is like her moment to succeed, and then everything just, it's just that shocking moment where they say to you, we will go there. We will change, like, the stakes are high, real people are going to suffer, like good people are going to suffer, and things will change. Like this, this isn't Dawson's Creek where at the end of the episode they reset to 0 and we start all over again the next week. They start again the next week with the consequences of like baked in. Like Jenny Calendar's dead, and now we all have to move on.
Yeah.
Season 2 is Shakespeare. It is opera. It is like from just an arc, like Aristotelian unity, like from just all the fucking like it is so fucking cohesive. From like put it in the Smithsonian, like just like that season, that arc, the whole thing, beginning to end, it's great.
But against your point, it's incredibly romantic. It's driven by its romantic relationship. Against your earlier point that like Buffy is a show not about friendship, right? Like like season 2 is one of the great love stories of television for me, and it's like,
okay, wait. I'm gonna say
Ian,
hi. I'm back. Also, what's hilarious is I was listening to you guys as the stream was continuing without me. I don't even know how that's possible if my internet's frozen and I'm the host. But I did reload my browser, and for some reason, it's saying in the app I use we're not live, but we are live because I'm watching it on YouTube. So,
and when you refreshed, the chat suddenly popped up on my screen, which I didn't have it before.
yeah, I don't know.
There's someone from Iceland in the chat.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah.
Oh wait, is the chat weighing in? What do we have here?
We have
Leah Richards Tang says
Sunday had a longer arc. I also wish Sunday had a longer arc. She's a fascinating character, and she
was a precursor to Glory. Clearly, I think.
Yeah,
I don't need her to be the full season, but she could have stuck around for a bit. Like I could have lived with
I
that
agree.
character. Yeah,
I agree. I think keeping her on until it became clear that Professor Walsh was up to something would have been
right.
That would have helped. There would have been a little more continuity or whatever for those first.
And like maybe Spike gets captured and she's one of the people captured there too, right?
That would have been fun. Yeah.
Yeah.
I just don't like the multiple villains. I just do one. Just like do one from the beginning. I'm just like I'm just not a fan of it in storytelling at all.
Oh, everyone says I sound better now. Great.
You do. You sound.
I did
better,
absolutely nothing. My internet
you're
froze.
doing so well.
I'm just like really thriving.
You just like you're drinking lots of water. You are. You just.
This is vodka, but yes.
Healthy. Yeah.
So
I don't remember Eric Balfour being on the OC. I don't remember that.
I did not watch all of OC.
That feels like that makes sense.
It's time wise it makes sense, but I don't remember him, and it's strange that I wouldn't.
Maybe
he's hot.
do, but
he is.
So Leah Richards Tang asks, out of everyone who left the show, if you could bring back one, who would you bring back? And that's a tough question.
Out of
now, hang on. Like, what are we doing? What does that mean? When are we bringing them back? For what?
Like, do we erase their death? Do they just like not die? Or
I think it.
Or is it like the first?
I'm literally just gonna say, like, just take it at face value and say, if you could take any character who left the show at any point for any reason and bring them back, like, just drop them in.
Just bring it back.
Yeah, I would say it's like the characters actually that I missed the most were probably Tara and Miss Calendar. Like, I thought like those two characters I could have seen more. Like, I think that more storylines could have been developed that included those characters. Right. I get why they took Tara off the show, and probably it was the right choice. I mean, I know that Amber Benson wasn't interested in coming back, and it was probably the right choice to just leave that where it was. But I just feel like it was like, they brought Miss Calendar back for amends, and that was really powerful. I think she could have been really useful in season 7 as one of the firsts, another appearance by the first.
Yes.
But yeah, like those are characters where I was always like, I always wanted to see more because of the emotional, stakes that brings to the story, like what it does for the other characters. I feel like that could have, there was a lot of fertile soil there.
Who was it who said that if we were doing a reunion episode that it would be Willow's wedding?
That was me. It would be like Willow's wedding, yeah.
Okay, so if we were doing a reunion episode, we would do the social distancing thing where they haven't seen each other, and Faith and Buffy meet for coffee all the time, and Faith is like, "Do you want to be my +1 to the wedding? I know she didn't ask you." But at the end of the wedding, I would have Tara come back, and like it's been long enough, and like that's the end of the wedding,
and that's the stinger.
Oh,
yeah, people would faint. People would like, there'd be like stroke, like people would just not survive.
The internet would lose its mind. Yeah. So you'd let Willow say "I do," and then you like Iris in. Up. Yeah. No, she's crashed the wedding. She's like at the end of the aisle, and she like just saw Willow get married, and now she's back. And that's where we start. Yeah.
Anthony.
I would pee my pants. I would not be okay. I would just be like,
oh my gosh! But that would be like I remember because I started watching the show in season 2, and
Alistair's here. Hi, Alistair.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I had never seen a show like that before. And when I got to Belonging Part 2, like where it ends with her like packing her bag and leaving town, I was like, no! I was like, I cannot wait all summer to see what happens next. Oh, that would be that moment if, Happy Wedding and Tara and Willow and Buffy work through whatever their issues are. We haven't decided on that yet, but work through whatever, they have their little like peaceful moment, and then like like the end of the aisle, like in the receiving line, the last person to come through, and it's Tara.
Or you do it, maybe you do it like the way Angel came back, where it's like she falls naked out of the sky.
I was gonna say like it should be like a porthole that like transports her right there, and she's like, "Where am I?" And then she realizes she's at Willow's wedding.
Or when they bring back Darla, and she's in that little cage thing.
Or however it is they're bringing back Chris Pine into Wonder Woman, like whatever magic that is.
Right. Yeah, but I feel like that's going to be a villain.
Out that magic. How do I conjure a Chris Pine of my own? I'll do that.
Who is your favorite character? Multiple requests for that one.
Right.
I'd go Buffy. I think it's Buffy. It sounds so lame to say Buffy, but it's Buffy.
Really? It's not even close to Buffy.
My favorite character, honestly, it was Faith.
Oh.
For me, I loved what they did with that character. I loved that she was Buffy's dark side, like made manifest, and I loved that they just the way that they worked those two against each other and with each other, how they were kind of friends and frenemies and enemies, and then they sort of worked through their issues. And I don't know, I just thought that she added a texture to the show that we hadn't seen before and haven't really seen since. And so I think I love the way that they utilized her.
Anthony, are you Willow or Giles?
As a character, I like Willow. Willow hits a lot of the quadrants that I care about, so I feel like it's probably Willow.
Okay.
I've always been of the extremely heretical view, and this is almost dangerous to say without immediately explaining why, but I've always thought that it should have been Xander who was the gay one and not Willow. Not because the Willow story isn't amazing. It is. It's like one of the best things television ever did. But I think she has so much to do as a character, and Xander had nothing to do. And I've always thought it would have been cool if one of the ways the show interrogated misogyny and toxic masculinity was to have Xander come to terms with his own.
I think it would have made sense. It really, like, you can tell that Joss was, I know that's like he said that. You can tell that he was trying to decide if it was going to be Willow or Xander, right?
Yeah.
Because it would have made sense if it was like in season 4 Xander came out, it would have been like, oh yeah, okay, that tracks.
Yeah. And then he wouldn't have been spinning his wheels for 3 years, right?
Whoa.
Whereas...
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I just want to make very clear that I really love the Willow story.
Yeah.
Please don't burn me at the stake. But,
You're on the podcast.
My question to you, Anthony, though, is, okay, it's season 4, it's the year 2000. And in this timeline, Joss decided to go with Xander instead. How does that go through the censor labyrinth in a way that Willow avoided it through? They had sex via magic. They had the magic thing. So like they would have to just be, and they would have to be that like Dawson's Creek 2000, like they love each other from afar thing. Unless there is some magic boy that he falls in love with.
That's right. You know what? That's who you use. You use Michael, the warlock that they went to school with.
Yeah.
Who they never.
Isn't he in Rilo Kiley?
Right.
Okay.
Is he? Oh.
I think so.
Is he? Huh.
Well, he was queer coded in Gingerbread. Or not? Is that what it's called? Gingerbread?
Yeah.
He's like clearly queer coded there. The books made it even clearer that he was queer, and then you can do the magic stuff. And then he has a way to relate to the other characters. That would have been fun.
Yeah.
Was he cute? I don't remember if he was cute.
Yeah.
I think he was cute.
Okay, all right.
He would have had one of those things where like he was like not cute in high school, and then like he had the glow up. He had the gay glow up in college.
They made him go to the gym over the season.
And then Xander sees him, and Xander like goes to visit Buffy and Willow at Sunnydale U, and just like has that moment. They see each other across the cafeteria, and it's just like zoinks.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. But that being said, Willow is probably my favorite. But Tara, I mean, especially the episode Family, like that episode triggers a lot of my own issues with family. So it's like that character is so dear to me that I think she might also be my favorite, which is probably why my immediate instinct was like to resurrect her.
I think I agree with you. I actually think, it's funny because I think it would have been more interesting to make Xander gay for all the reasons that you stated, but to make Xander gay, we would have never gotten Tara, and I think I'm afraid that trade-off isn't worth it. I would like to have
Anya.
Yeah, I know, exactly.
Oh, that's true. We're losing another. Yeah, okay.
Right.
We're messing with the timeline in a way we shouldn't.
I know. I feel like
Anya would be so much better as some.
Yeah.
As a gay bestie.
Get some gay bestie. They would have just. They finally would have, because they had that chemistry, but it was never like a full click.
Listen, we solved all of our problems. They introduce Andrew earlier. He becomes Xander's boyfriend. Then we have Anya as their bestie, and then an antagonist for Willow who has some boyfriend who could be.
Love it. What I would say, bringing it back to the connection to Sex and the City, Xander and Andrew wouldn't have hooked up. Everyone in the house would have been like, perfect. And it would have been like how in Sex and the City, how Anthony and
yeah.
Wait, I've seen that episode.
Yeah, where they were just like livid that they would even think that they would go.
Isn't the line more like Ed has no Harris?
Yeah.
That would be perfect because Xander already has that relationship with Andrew, right? Where it's like he feels like he has to. It's kind of the Niles and Frasier thing, where like, if you put a character who's just a more exaggerated version next to the original, that character immediately shows in relief, right? Like Xander seems cooler and more masculine because Andrew is completely uninterested in performing either of those things. Like he's walking around their house with the oven mitts on and everything.
Listen, you have Xander have his like one gay identity, and then a femme gay enters the house, and he's like, "I'm fucking I can't handle this. You're making me so pissed."
Yes. Perfect.
It would be. I feel like Xander could be like annoyed with like the younger gay.
Yes. Oh, he would have been. It would have been every person that you text me about being like, I can't stand this twit.
So in the chat, controversial opinion, I prefer Tara's relationship with Buffy and Dawn than with Willow. And I wanted to bring that up because I commented on them when we did Real Me, season 5, episode 2. I talked about that because there's that moment where Tara reaches out to Dawn because Dawn is feeling left out, like she's feeling isolated, and like it's the whole episode where we just met Dawn and we're like, who the fuck is this? Like, who's this chick in the house? And then it's the episode where we kind of get to know who she is, and there is this moment where Tara actually like reaches out to her, because like the guy with like part of his brain missing, one of Glory's like brain sucky types, like is like, you don't belong here, and so Tara like comforts her afterward, and I was like, it was a really nice like quiet moment, one of these things that Tara was so useful for these little quiet moments, like in The Gift not The Gift, The Body, when she's with Buffy and it's just their moment alone.
Yeah.
And Tara tells her, she's like, it's okay to feel, or like she says, like you'll react to this in ways that you don't understand, in ways that you don't like. You'll think you're a horrible person sometimes, and it's okay. And it was just like this really sweet moment where it came from exactly the right character at exactly the right time.
Because Tara was so great, because you had every other character had this veneer of sarcasm as protection. Right. Like they all had their own way of quipping their way out of things, the Whedon way. And then like in comes this person, this Tara, who is not interested, or really like she has her own ways of like protecting herself, but like that's just not how she communicates. And that's the real gift of season 4, is it brings this total new energy into Willow's life. She doesn't feel like a Scooby.
Well,
I think that's her thing.
You've got this group of outcasts who have built a hard shell and have learned to defend themselves through their sarcasm and through these like one-liners, and they've developed this kind of dynamic. And then you've got this character who is an outcast who wears her vulnerability on her sleeve and sort of introduces a much softer aspect of all of that, and becomes a counterpoint, like counterweight to this sort of like where they get to the point of where they're at risk of sort of stepping on all the quieter moments because everybody's got to have a snappy rejoinder.
It's just because it's like you've had 4 seasons of these characters every week getting traumatized by something, and they are just by season 4 they are like, I can't handle anything without quipping. And then you have somebody like Tara who's like maybe not has gone through like all that, and then as soon as she brings this vulnerability in, that's when the seasons get tougher and they feel each moment more. They're not saying they didn't feel stuff before. Season 2 is very brutal. They have crying moments. They have like, their moments where it lands, but like season 5 through the end is just everything lands so much harder. And I think a lot of that is definitely not like on purpose. It's just something thematically that's nice, is they bring in this character who acknowledges the trauma that they're all facing.
Yes. Yeah. Agreed.
Tara. And I like Giles the best, so that's my.
Oh, Joshua has pointed out